Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin, in a call with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump, has agreed to halt attacks against Ukrainian energy targets, but has refused the full 30-day ceasefire that Washington has proposed and Kyiv has already accepted. Now, despite this, Trump hailed the call as good and productive, insisting he has an understanding with Putin to quickly work towards a complete ceasefire and a wider settlement in the three-year-old war. Now, after last week's talks in Jeddah, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had said the ball was in Russia's court as the Ukrainians accepted Washington's proposal for a full ceasefire. But the White House's statement following the Trump-Putin call made no reference to that agreement with Kyiv. It just said broader truce talks would begin immediately in West Asia. Now, Russia has made it clear that any deal on the full ceasefire was dependent on the fulfillment of long-standing demands, complete cessation of Western military and intelligence support to Ukraine, also the assurance that Kyiv will not rearm or mobilize during any ceasefire. In response, a spokesperson for UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the country will stand with Kyiv for as long as it takes to ensure Moscow can never launch an illegal invasion again. France and Germany had a similar response. Speaking alongside French President Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said that Ukraine can count on US, can count on Europe. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukraine was favorable to a U.S. proposed ceasefire on strikes against energy infrastructure endorsed by Russia, but needed more details from Washington first. He said once they get the details, they will prepare their response and the team will be ready for technical conversations.
If President Trump can find time, he is a busy man. If he has time he can phone at any time, we are ready to pick up. We are ready to discuss the next steps with him.
The Ukrainian leader, however, claimed that Russia was not ready to end the war, adding that Putin's whole game was to weaken Kyiv. Zelensky claimed Russian strikes hit civilian infrastructure. In a post on social media X, he said that a hospital in Sumy had been struck. Also, explosions rang out and air raid sirens sounded over capital Kyiv, prompting authorities to issue an advisory. They urged residents of Kyiv to take cover in shelters, citing the threat of a Russian aerial attack. Now, to get more details and views, we have joining us our correspondent Susan Tehrani, joining us from New York. Thank you so much, Susan, for joining us. Now, Putin has agreed over limited ceasefire for the time. What does that mean, and what else has come out of the talks?
Yeah, that limited ceasefire is regarding those energy infrastructures and infrastructures in general, according to Steve Witkoff, who just spoke to Fox News a few minutes ago before we came live on air. The question was, is this just energy infrastructures or infrastructures in general in and around Ukraine? And he said that, it's a very general and broad infrastructure apparatus that Putin has agreed not to attack. What else came out was very interesting about the mannerism between the two leaders, not only how Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin played on their past relationships and connections that they had when Trump was president during the first term, but also some kind of assurance and security guarantees that apparently Putin got from President Trump, that he would talk to the Ukrainian side regarding, the plan of attack and how to move forward during these 30 days to get to a lasting ceasefire. Now, the president has not committed, the United States has not committed to halt weapons delivery or intelligence to Ukraine as Putin had demanded. But President Trump has promised that perhaps if Putin agrees to a more permanent settlement, then he would come out of quote unquote international isolation, and that there will be a betterment of ties, not only between Russia and the West in general, but Russia and the United States. So they're sort of pinning this and talking about this as some kind of global realignment, if you may. not only from the Trump White House, but it appears that Putin is open to that as well. We did hear from Witkoff that once again, the two sides are going to be in Saudi Arabia in the Middle East on Sunday to, hash out any remaining issues regarding this temporary ceasefire. But again, the devil's in the detail on the one hand, and on the other hand, while Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine has said that he has welcomed this initiative, he's also said that he's concerned that there aren't more halts coming on the part of Russia, because he's afraid that these 30 days are going to be used for Russia to attack Ukraine from the south of the country as well.
Right. And as you mentioned, Russia seems to have laid out a set of conditions for a long-term peace. If you could just elaborate on that.
Yeah, one of those is that Ukraine remains completely neutral. Its borders, that means that the West does not even initiate Ukraine joining NATO. They want other security assurances as well. One of the main issues is going to be to what extent the West, not only the United States, but also Europeans, are going to be helping Ukraine in any way, not only with the United States and possible this mineral deal, but also, in terms of reconstruction efforts, how many and to what extent European troops are going to be stationed inside Ukraine as part of peacekeeping forces. Those are issues, these border issues, and, where the line of ceasefire is going to be is very concerning for Russia. For example, Russia wants parts of Ukraine that it's already conquered going back to even Crimea, which is not even during this conflict. So those lines are very important for it. And of course, that security guarantee that there isn't going to be a NATO membership is also very important for it. How far Russia can get in, having the West accept these assurances is yet to be seen. But another issue that we heard that Vladimir Putin had called on was that for a lasting ceasefire, he wants the United States and Russia to make that call, and he wants Ukraine out of the negotiations. And that's a no-go, of course, for Europe. And President Trump has said that Ukraine ultimately has to be at the negotiating table for a lasting peace.
Right. And also, let's get back to the infrastructure. We know that the oil facilities in Russia has been attacked by Ukrainian drones. On the other hand, it was the infrastructure which was probably, well, of course, hard for Ukraine to survive winters. With this whole limited ceasefire, how does it stand for Ukraine and Russia individually?
So at this point, it appears that Vladimir Putin has instructed all of his commanders to halt attacks on those infrastructures and those energy infrastructures and nuclear infrastructures. The main question is the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which is under Russian control right now. That's something that we're hoping to get more information on how that's going to really move forward in the next 30 days. But it appears that right now, from the information that we have, the two sides have agreed to not only halt these attacks, but also some sort of halt in maritime activity in the Red Sea as well. So, when we talk about infrastructure, it's not going to be just energy and nuclear, but it appears that it's going to be other infrastructures as well. Now, whether or not Ukraine is going to be, it hasn't really advanced that much into Russia, but what is it going to continue its offensive towards Russia? That's yet to be seen as well. But I think we'll get a lot more information once the president of the United States talks to Ukrainian leaders as well.
Right. All right, Susan. Of course, we were looking forward to the talks that's going to happen in West Asia. What comes out of it? What does a ceasefire look like? It's going to happen or not? But thank you so much for tracking and giving us your perspective.